Hello, welcome to another Alpha Strike We Play video. Hello Taryn.
Hey Adam, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. So we're going to talk about indirect fire.
One of my favourite things. It's right up there with packages wrapped up in string. Indirect fire. Missiles coming over a hill and going.
So we've set up a little example here of what we're going to do, but we just want to talk a little bit about how the rules work.
Yeah.
And how it can benefit you in your games, because it's quite good.
Yeah, it is cool. It's costly, but it's quite cool. But yeah, in the beginner box they don't have indirect fire. Everything's straightforward, straight down the line. But in this second one, they bring it in, and it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So the base thing is, if you are equipped with LRMs, you're allowed to hide behind a hill or other cover out of line of sight of a target and shoot it with your LRM socket up over the top. Splash. But you have to have a spotter.
That's right.
You have to have a guy out there going, there's the enemy, shoot him.
So in our little example that we've set up here, we have a catapult who's behind a level 2 hill.
Yep.
He is wanting to shoot at this guy here, a thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt.
But the catapult has a friend in the form of a commando who's
Yes.
going to be the spotter for him in this example.
Okay, so you're building up your target number and it's going to be high. Don't kid yourselves. It's going to be high.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes worth it because, as you can see, the catapult is out of range of the thunderbolt. There's nothing you can do to hit him.
Yeah, there's no line of sight there.
No line of sight.
So even though the weapon can reach, he's 7 hexes away, so that's actually optimal range.
Optimal range.
If he could shoot directly, that's what he'd want to do, but he can't. So he needs some help. And this is where the commando comes in. He acts as the spotter.
Yes.
So let's go through it, and we'll figure out what sort of target number he's going to need. So we're assuming standard pilots here. So 4 gunnery, 4 gunnery, 5 piloting for everybody.
So this is small number maths on screen. Watch this. I'm going to bugger it up. So you start with a 4.
Yep.
Which
is the catapult's
gunnery skill.
Shooting. So it starts with him.
He's shooting, so he gets his gunnery skill to start. Then you add modifiers, standard everyday modifiers for the movement of the attacker, which is the guy firing the actual missiles.
Yep, so in this case, we've got a 6, which means he hasn't actually moved. He's been stationary for this round.
Which is helpful, because that means I add 0 to 4, so I'm good so far. And then you add 4 target movement.
Yep, so in this case, it's a 1. He walked a total of, we'll say, 3 hexes in this example, so he's generated a +1.
So we're up to a 5. Then, unfortunately, you have to add modifiers for the spotter's movement. So the fact that the spotter is moving as well actually impacts your ability to call out the position properly.
So not how far he moved,
but his
what
actual
his
speed.
Movement type is. Yeah. So in this case, he did a run, which is the black dice under the rules. He moved a total to give him a 1 modifier, but that doesn't matter. So he ran, so that's a +2.
So we're up to 7 so far. Then you have terrain and partial cover, the normal line of sight modifiers, but you go from the spotter to the target, not from the firer to the target.
Yep.
So from the commando to the thunderbolt. I don't think we have any terrain really, do we?
No, so in this case, the thunderbolt is out in the open and there's no intervening like woods or anything like that.
There you
go. The commando is standing directly behind a level 1. But
so that doesn't count.
Does not block his line of sight or affect in any way. It'll help him if he's getting shot at with some partial cover. But
then you get range modifier from the firer to the target. So the standard range modifiers and minimum range counts for this. Okay, so if he gets within the 7 range, then you start counting it down. But fortunately, we've got a dead on.
We've got a dead on to make it nice and simple.
So that's a 0 as well. So we're still at 7. We arranged this really well.
We did do that well, yes. It's like we planned it.
Almost. So then there's always a +1 for indirect fire. So no matter what you do, you're always going to have an extra +1.
Yeah.
So because you're doing indirect fire, +1, so we're up to an 8. And then you have an extra +1 if your spotter makes an attack. Okay, so if your spotter is saying, another thunderbolt, and he's out there running around shooting people as well as spotting for you, then it's going to make it harder for you to hit.
Yeah.
And the spotter also gets a +1 to their target numbers if they're spotting and shooting at the same time. So that's something to bear in mind.
Yeah. So it's probably a good idea that if you are the spotter, to not try not to shoot and just focus. So
we're up to, well, if he hasn't made any attacks, then we're up to an 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got an 8. There's a good thing, which is that even though cover counts for the actual line of sight, it doesn't count for the attack. So if you've got partial cover from anything other than water, so he's behind a hill or he's in woods, then you don't ignore leg hits. If he's in water, you still ignore the leg hits because they hit the water, because they're coming at a higher trajectory. So
yeah, and it's good to note that someone who's actually spotting, they can spot for multiple allied units that are doing indirect fire.
Yep.
But not the other way around. So you can't spot for multiple. As in, you can't spot at 2 enemies and then...
Yeah, no, so one friendly spotter can spot 1 unit for multiple firers.
Yeah, that's it.
And obviously they would only differ in the target numbers they get for the range.
That's right.
And their own particular movement circumstances.
Yep.
Right. So the catapult is looking at an 8 to try and hit that thunderbolt,
which is not too bad considering they didn't move far enough and is in optimal range. So that's not too bad.
So he's done the smart thing. So when you are indirect firing, you want your LRM carrier, your missile boat, to get to where it's going as quickly as possible and stop.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't want it running all over the place or jumping anywhere or doing anything like that. You want it to get where it needs to be and stop, because that cuts out 1 modifier. You want your spotter to try not to shoot, because that cuts out another modifier.
Infantry are quite good for that, because they don't suffer shooting penalties if they move.
Once you get to the full rules, there's all sorts of things that you can do that will help you out with things in this box set.
Which is just mechs,
Which is just mechs. Your best bet is to have your catapult or something. I think the Thunderbolt has a 10 rack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or 15, depending on which version. Yeah, there's a bit of both.
So you have your LRM missile boat guy where he needs to be, and then use a small, fast unit to spot. And don't shoot with it, because that gets you nastiness.
It also depends. I mean, if you've got an assault mech who's going to spot as well, if you don't want him to move and you don't want to rack up those modifiers, at least it's got its armor to back it up.
Yeah.
So just sit there and spot for everyone else.
So one of my favorite things would be to get an awesome and stick it on a hill, and then have LRM carriers, the vehicle carriers, behind the hills, and the awesome stands up there and he direct fires with his PPCs and he spots for the LRM carriers that are behind him, and his armor lets him stay up there for rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds, just dishing out direct fire. But he's also spotting for LRM carriers, and the LRM carriers have like 320 racks or something.
Yeah.
And loads of ammo, so they just sit behind there and just...
What's that, Black in the Sky or something?
Yeah, we have to fight in the shade.
Fight in the shade.
But that's a good way to do it.
But it's good, because, I mean, let's face it, in this example, you've got 2 LRM 15s that can now be used in a round of combat.
Yep.
And theoretically, you should be doing more damage than what this little commander is going to be doing.
Theoretically.
That's right, yeah. So,
and the important thing is that a lot of mechs and vehicles that are labelled missile boats, or that are used as missile boats, or whose main purpose is indirect fire, they don't have a lot of armour. So if you stand them up and put them direct fire and they get shot, they go down pretty quick.
Yeah.
So sticking it behind a hill where nobody can see the bloody thing is one good way of stopping it getting blown up.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's see if you hit, buddy.
All right.
You need an 8.
So we needed 8. Here we go. So we've got 2. I'll just roll them. Oh, that's a 10.
Yeah.
So that's good. And an 8. Okay.
Nice.
So there you go.
Okay, so he hit with both. Now, that's a potential for, 30 points of damage?
Potentially.
Potential. Should we roll on the closet
Yeah, why
table
not?
and see what amount of damage you do? I mean, seeing as we're doing this.
I've rolled a 9 on a 15, so what's that? 12?
9 on a 15 is 12. Yep.
12, okay. We won't bother rolling where the locations are, we'll just see how many. Oh, that's actually good, 4.
4 is 6, so 18 points of damage
18 points.
to that Thunderbolt. I mean, 18
That's
points,
all right.
that's not bad.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
That's not bad.
That's okay. Considering, just having a look here, you've got medium range for the commandos.
Yeah.
And he's run, so...
But that's 18 split into 5, so that's 4 locations. So 4 locations are going to take damage. And if you've already damaged him, then that's, you know, potential for criticals, it's potential for internal structure, it's all sorts of nasty stuff. And it's 18 points towards your 20-point limit too.
Actually, yeah, that's helpful.
So
you need is 4 catapults, and just do that, and you're okay.
bloody oath, I would. You have one little guy running around, you have 4 catapults at the back. Do it.
So that's it. So, Indirect Fire.
LRM Indirect Fire, it is awesome, and we may or may not go into some variations on that. In the full rules, there's some really funky stuff you can do. So we'll get into that at some point. Hopefully.
Maybe let us know if you want to know about how some of the other technology works with expanding on Indirect Fire.
Yeah,
like that we can have a look though. So just maybe leave a comment. Just let us know if that's what you'd like to know about. Yeah,
I love it.
We'll do it.
All right.
Okay.
All good.
Okay,
All
that's
good.
it. Thank you, Derek.
Bye, guys.